I believe it's going to come together.
The president believes the bill will undergo some tweaking, though. But what will it ultimately take to make lawmakers in both parties happy? Is it even possible? Let's bring in our congressional panel for a fair and balanced debate. Congressman Steve King, a Republican from Iowa on the House Judiciary Committee, and Congressman Jim McDermott, a Democrat from Washington on the House Ways and Means Committee. Gentlemen, thank you very much for talking to us. Congressman McDermott, I want to start with you first. President Obama did say that he's not ruling out that unhappy Democrats will make some changes in this mammoth legislation, and I would understand that you're probably not so happy with it. What changes would you like to see?
Well, basically, he ought to take out the extension of taxes for the rich, and he ought to take out the estate tax that he put in. Both of them are egregious additions to this bill. He says that's not going to happen, but there are a lot of Democrats who are going to vote no. You really ought to ask Steve King whether the Republicans are going to vote for this, because they're going to need Republican votes.
You read my mind there, because Congressman King, I did want to ask you, first of all, what kind of changes would Republicans be willing to agree to, if any? And how much longer is this piece of legislation going to be dissected over and squabbled over? And are we going to get a decision by the end of this week?
Well, Julie, I think that's true that the Senate's going to send some legislation over to the House. I think it's very unlikely the House would accept the language of the Senate and send it to the president. We watched the revolt of the progressives, and some of the things that they've said about the president are shocking to me. What does it take to get Republicans to support the legislation? I think it's a good question. I'd like to separate the two issues, the progressive issues, the Keynesian economic approach, from the tax components. And I don't think anybody deserves a tax increase coming into next year. But a piece that's not really been talked about very much is if we get into next year and these tax brackets are not ratified again and extended, there will be people that get less money in their paychecks, yes, but the Republicans will put a bill over to the Senate and perhaps on the president's desk that makes these tax brackets permanent, and they'll get their money back when they do their taxes in April.
Congressman McDermott, I understand you signed Welch's letter against the tax cut deal. And it really does look like the president is backing down on certain issues, specifically the tax cuts for the wealthy. What do you think this is going to do to the Democratic Party now that the Republicans will take control in the new year? I mean, are you perhaps at all afraid that this could potentially break up the Democratic Party looking ahead to the presidential election in 2 years?
Well, one of the problems that we saw in this bill, besides the unfairness, was the fact that the trust fund babies got a $68 billion tax break, and unemployment got only $56 billion, and they only got 1 year, and trust fund babies got 2 years of certainty. Now, that uncertainty has got to be changed. There should be an extension of unemployment at least for 2 years, if not for more. Bernanke, the president's advisor, is saying you're going to have 5 years of high unemployment in this country. So why are we dragging the unemployed through the knothole again and again? Steve King and his friends have refused to give unemployment benefits to the unemployed since December 1st. You got 2 million people who are going to have lost their benefits by Christmas time. This is not fair to the unemployed in this country.
Congressman King, what do you have to say about that? I mean, he's essentially saying that Republicans don't care about the unemployed.
Well, I've watched unemployment in my time in Congress go from 26 weeks to 99 weeks. That's almost 2 years. And if you look at the time that might be a notice of when a person would get laid off, it can be 2.25 years from the time a person gets laid off until they actually have to go back to work again. If you look at the data, you'll see that people will get a job. The closer they get to their unemployment running out, the more likely they are to get a job. So this works against the economic development side of it. There's two different approaches to this. One is you can borrow money from the Chinese and give it to people to spend and think that grows the economy. That's been tried for about $3 trillion under this administration. Or you can increase the productivity of America, produce goods and services that have marketable value. That's how we'll grow this economy. And that means put people back to work. If you pay them not to work, that's what they'll do. If you pay them to work, they will work. And that's where Mr. McDermott and I disagree.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't have necessarily the option of whether or not to work. I mean, a lot of people are trying, and in fact, some 15 million people unemployed. Among them, a lot of people are trying to find jobs. So if you don't give them the unemployment benefits that they need, you got a big problem.
Well, and we had a hearing before the Small Business Committee, and I believe it was 9 employers there. 8 of the 9 said they were having trouble hiring people because their unemployment hadn't run out. But one said that she had actually hired from the unemployment roll. So that was pretty instructive to me, and I've lived and worked through that. But that's not the central part of this thing. It's not
right.
It's not paid for. The unemployment component of this, $56 billion, not paid for. The tax brackets are in place, and people that are for this don't want to allow for the estate tax to extend under current law.
Yeah.
I think it should be extended under current law. Let's make current law permanent. We do that, it makes it a lot better deal for me to vote for.
Congressman McDermott, I got to give you the final say here. You know, Vice President Joe Biden has told Democrats essentially that in closed-door meetings this week that they are free to oppose the agreement, but that it might unravel if they do so. What do you plan on doing this week?
I don't have any problem voting no against this package. The Republicans, when they come in on the 5th of January, can put the same bill in place that they put in 2001. They put this tax proposal in 2001. It's now expiring. They're coming back into power in 2011. They can extend it. There'll be no break in the tax problems for people. And I think that what I would like to hear Steve say is, how does giving money to the rich provide more jobs? We've had that for 10 years. This program has been in for 10 years, and we now have 15 million unemployed, and we got 6 million foreclosures in this country. It doesn't work.
I've got an answer if you've got time, Julie.
I really don't, but I'm going to let you answer anyway.
Well, thanks. The top 5% pay 53% of the taxes. The top half of the taxpayers pay all but 4% of the taxes. 43% of the households don't pay any taxes. So it's not giving money to the rich. It's just not taking more from them. Current tax should be made permanent. That's where I stand. I hope we can get that done somehow.
All right. And there I have to wrap it up. Congressman McDermott and Congressman King, we appreciate you coming on, and good luck this week.
Thank you.
Greg.
Well, there's a major legal challenge to the new health care law.